The house that didn't feel empty. I've never been the kind of person who scares easily. If anything, I've always been the one laughing during horror movies while everyone else is covering their eyes. My friends know it. My family knows it. Even my old roommate used to say I was annoyingly calm in situations that should freak people out. That's why I still struggle with the fact that I can't sleep properly anymore. Not because I believe in ghosts, but because I can't explain what I experienced. And when you can't explain something, it doesn't leave you alone. It stays with you. It grows. It changes the way you think when the lights are off. It started as a simple favor. My friend Marcus had planned a weekend trip with his wife for their anniversary. They don't usually leave the city together because of their kids and their dog. But this time, everything aligned perfectly. The kids had a school trip. The timing worked. And all they needed was someone to watch the house and the dog. He called me casually one afternoon. "Hey, can you stay at the house for the weekend? Just feed Biscuit and keep him company." That was it. No warning, no strange tone, nothing unusual. I said yes immediately. Honestly, I didn't even think of it as a responsibility. It felt like a break from everything. Marcus lived in a large house far outside the city. Quiet roads, open land. No neighbors close enough to bother you. The kind of place where silence isn't just absence of sound. It feels like a presence. I arrived on Friday afternoon. The moment I stepped inside, Biscuit, his golden retriever, ran straight toward me like we were old friends. Big, warm, friendly dog. The kind that makes any place feel less empty instantly. He circled me twice, sniffed my back, then immediately tried to sit on my feet like I belonged there. That alone relaxed me. The house itself was spotless. Marcus had left everything organized. Fridge stocked. Notes on containers. This is for dinner. This is for snacks. Even the smallest details were labeled like I was a guest in a hotel instead of a friend doing a favor. It was almost funny. Almost too perfect. That evening, I texted Marcus. "Everything good here. Biscuit is basically my new roommate." He replied within minutes. "Good. Don't let him convince you he's starving. Also, don't get weirded out at night. House just feels different when it's empty." I remember reading that last line twice. It didn't feel serious, more like a joke. So I ignored it. The first night was completely normal. Biscuit and I watched movies on the couch. I ordered food, ate too much, fell into that slow, lazy comfort you only get when you know you don't have responsibilities the next morning. At some point, I don't even remember when, I fell asleep on the couch. The house was silent, too silent, but I didn't notice that part yet. Not until 3:21 a.m. I didn't hear anything at first. I just woke up, not gradually, not naturally, but suddenly, like something had pulled me out of sleep without warning. The first thing I saw was my phone screen glowing in the dark. 3:21 a.m. That number stuck immediately, even though I didn't understand why at the time. Then I heard Biscuit barking. Not the normal kind of barking dogs do when they hear something outside. This was sharp, aggressive, panicked. The sound came from the kitchen. I sat up instantly. There's a specific kind of silence at night when a house feels normal. And then there's the kind of silence that exists right before something feels wrong. That silence changed. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen. Each step felt heavier than it should have. Biscuit was standing near the basement door, completely stiff. Every hair on his back was raised like static electricity had frozen him in place. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the door, not barking anymore, just staring. I called his name once. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. When I placed my hand on his back, he flinched like I had startled him from something deeper than sleep. That was the first moment I felt it. Not fear exactly. Something closer to awareness. Like my body was noticing something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. The basement door was right there. I had been down there before. Marcus used it as a second living space. Couch, bar setup, TV, bathroom. Completely normal finished basement. Nothing about it was unusual. But Biscuit's reaction wasn't normal. I grabbed a kitchen knife without thinking. Not because I believed someone was there, but because I didn't like how the silence felt. When I touched the door handle, Biscuit exploded into movement, barking, circling, backing away. And then I opened the door. The air changed immediately. It wasn't just cold, it was wrong. A kind of cold that didn't belong inside a house that was heated, maintained, and lived in. Biscuit rushed forward to the edge of the stairs, but he stopped at the frame. He refused to cross. I went down alone. Every light switch I found, I turned on, one by one. The basement lit up slowly. Couch, bar, table, bathroom door. Everything looked exactly how it should. And yet, it didn't feel right. There was no sound, no movement, but there was something in the air that I couldn't explain, like the room was holding its breath. I checked everything, closets, corners, behind furniture, nothing, no one, but the cold didn't leave. It stayed, heavy, unnatural. When I finally went back upstairs, Biscuit was still standing at the top of the stairs, watching me like he didn't recognize the version of me that had gone down there. I closed the door, locked it, sat on the couch, and eventually, exhaustion took over again. Biscuit came back to me slowly, laying down like nothing had happened, and for a few hours, everything went back to normal. By morning, Biscuit was completely fine, eating, playing, running around the backyard like a completely different dog. The basement, in daylight, looked ordinary again. Even the cold was gone. I stood there for a long time trying to convince myself I had imagined it. Stress, tiredness, weird house, overthinking, that's all it had to be. But something inside me didn't fully agree. It just stayed quiet, waiting, and I didn't know it yet. But that was only the beginning. The notes that knew too much after that weekend at Marcus's house. I kept telling myself the same thing over and over again. It was nothing. A weird night, an overactive imagination. Maybe the stress of sleeping in a place I wasn't used to. That's what I tried to believe, at least. Because if I didn't believe that, then I didn't have another explanation that made sense. But life has a way of not letting you leave strange things behind so easily. About 3 weeks later, something started happening at work. At first, I didn't even connect it to anything. It was just a normal afternoon. I finished my shift, walked out to my car like always, keys already in my hand, half thinking about food, half thinking about nothing at all. Then I saw it, a bright pink sticky note stuck neatly on my car door handle. At first, I actually smiled. It felt harmless. The handwriting was neat, careful, almost polite. "You're special. Hope you have a good day." There was even a small smiley face drawn in the corner. It didn't feel threatening at all. If anything, it felt kind, like something you'd ignore in a good way, not something you'd question. I remember standing there for a few seconds thinking it was probably someone from work messing around. Maybe a coworker, maybe a prank, maybe some strange attempt at friendliness. So I didn't think too deeply about it. I just threw the note in my car and drove home. The next day, there was another one. Same place, same handwriting. "You looked tired today. Hope you're okay." That one made me pause for a moment. Not because it was scary, but because it felt observant. Too observant. But still, I didn't panic. I told myself it was probably coincidence. Maybe someone saw me at work. Maybe it was just someone being weirdly attentive. And honestly, I even started responding. Not directly at first, just small notes left back on my car. Friendly replies. A kind of harmless back and forth I didn't think much about. And for a few days, it actually felt normal, almost playful, like some anonymous connection that didn't matter in real life. Then it changed. The note stopped being general. They stopped being friendly. They started being specific. "You were late leaving today. You took the side exit again." That was the first time I felt something uncomfortable. Because I hadn't told anyone my routine, and I definitely hadn't shared it with whoever this was. Still, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they worked in the same building. Maybe they were just paying attention more than I realized. But logic has limits. And that limit showed up the day I had off. I didn't go to work that day. I stayed home, slept in, didn't really do much except exist in that lazy, quiet state of a day off. Around late morning, I stepped outside to grab something from my car. That's when I saw it. A pink sticky note. On my car. In my own driveway. I remember standing completely still before I even read it, because something about seeing it there felt different. Not playful, not casual, personal. I walked closer slowly. My hands already felt cold. I read the note once, then again. "You look cute when you sleep." I didn't move for a few seconds. My brain tried to reject the meaning before I fully accepted it. Because that didn't just mean someone knew my car. That meant someone had been near my house, near my window, near me. While I was asleep, I looked around immediately. The street was quiet, normal, nothing unusual. But my mind wasn't calm anymore. That was the first real shift. The first time this stopped feeling like a harmless prank and started feeling like something else entirely. Something that had crossed a line without asking. After that, I stopped responding. Completely. No more notes back. No more engagement. I thought ignoring it would end it. It didn't. Instead, the tone changed. Fast. "You better answer me. I know where you live." At first, I still hesitated to involve the police. Because part of me still wanted to believe it was someone I knew. Someone messing around. Someone local. But deep down, I already knew something was off. Then one night, everything crossed a point I couldn't ignore anymore. I woke up suddenly, not from a dream, from a sound inside the house. It wasn't loud, just enough to wake me. I stayed still in bed for a moment, listening. Nothing. Then again, a faint movement sound. I got up slowly, grabbed a bat I kept nearby without even thinking about why I had it. I walked down the hallway. Each step felt louder than it should have. The house was dark, too quiet. I reached the point where I could see the living room, kitchen, and dining area all at once. I stopped there, listening. Nothing moved. No sound, no footsteps, no breathing, just silence. I stood there for what felt like a full minute. Then I convinced myself I was overthinking. I went back to my room, locked the door, and tried to sleep. The next morning is where things stopped being uncertain. Because when I walked into the kitchen, I saw it. A pink sticky note on my refrigerator. Inside my house. You can't keep me away. Everything inside me went still. Not panic at first, just disbelief. Because this wasn't outside anymore. This wasn't work. This wasn't coincidence. This was inside my locked house. I checked every door, every window. Everything was locked. Exactly how I left it. No signs of forced entry. No broken locks. Nothing. I called the police that day. They came. They looked. They asked questions. They checked what they could. But there was nothing obvious for them to work with. Just notes. No fingerprints that mattered. No entry point they could prove it. Their conclusion was simple. Someone I knew. Someone with access. Someone local. But I knew what I had seen. And I knew nobody had my key. That night, I didn't sleep at home. I stayed at a friend's place. And for the first time in a while, I felt safe enough to breathe. But even then, something inside me already knew this wasn't finished yet. It never really stopped after that night. I didn't go back to my house alone for a while. A friend stayed with me the first night I returned. We replaced every lock on the doors, double-checked the windows, even installed basic security cameras around the outside. I told myself that was enough, that whatever this was, it couldn't continue if I tightened everything up. For a while, it worked. Nothing happened. No notes, no signs, no strange sounds at night. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, I started to believe I had finally moved past it. The house felt normal again. My sleep improved. My routine went back to what it used to be. And just like that, I almost convinced myself it was over. But things like this don't end cleanly. They pause, then come back when you stop expecting them. It happened one morning like any other. I opened my front door, half awake, keys in hand, thinking about work, and I froze. There was a pink sticky note stuck right on the outside of the door. The same handwriting, the same neat, careful letters. I guess you don't want to play anymore. I didn't even step outside for a moment. I just stood there, staring at it, trying to process how it got there. Because everything had been locked. Everything. And yet, it was back. That was the last note I ever found. No explanation followed it. No more messages. No more appearances. Just silence. A silence that felt heavier than anything before it. I reported it again. But by then, even the police seemed less certain what to say. They had already checked my house. They had already checked my workplace. Cameras didn't show anything useful. No clear suspect. No entry point. Nothing solid enough to act on. Eventually, they stopped coming. Life moved forward whether I wanted it to or not. I changed cities after that. New place, new apartment, ground floor this time. I told myself I preferred it that way. Easier access, more convenience, less paranoia about stairs and empty hallways. The building was quiet, clean, normal. For a while, I thought distance would fix everything. But the mind doesn't reset just because you change locations. Some nights, I still found myself waking up for no reason, sitting in silence, listening to a building that was supposed to be empty at night. Most of the time, it was nothing, just my brain replaying old fear. Until one night, it wasn't nothing. I woke up to footsteps in the hallway outside my door, slow, uncertain, then stopping, right in front of my apartment. I stayed completely still in bed, listening, trying to convince myself it was another resident, another normal explanation. But then, I heard something else. A voice. Soft, childlike. Please let us in. We're home now. I didn't move. I didn't answer. I didn't even breathe properly. I slowly got up and looked through the peephole. At first, I didn't see anything clearly. Then my eyes adjusted. Two small figures, standing right outside my door, hooded, still, their heads slightly lowered, like they were waiting. Not moving, not knocking, just standing there, too close. I don't know how long I looked at them. Seconds felt longer, maybe minutes. Then one of them tilted slightly. And that's when the handle moved. Slowly at first, then again, like they were trying to open it without force. I stepped back instantly and shouted for them to leave. There was a pause. Then both of them giggled. Not loud, not playful, just synchronized, like it wasn't two people reacting separately. Then the handle started shaking more aggressively. One of them suddenly threw themselves against the door. Once, twice, hard enough that the frame rattled. And then, nothing. Silence again. I waited. My heart felt like it was stuck somewhere between my chest and throat. When I finally looked through the peephole again, they were gone. No footsteps, no sound of running, no sign they had ever been there. The next day, I went to the building management. I needed answers. They showed me the security footage, and what I saw made everything feel worse, not better. Two small figures walking down the hallway toward my door, stopping in front of it, standing completely still for almost 10 minutes. No movement, no speaking, no shifting, just waiting. Then one of them slowly reaching for the handle, trying it again and again, and then the footage ended with them walking away. But here's the part that made my stomach drop. They didn't appear on any other camera after that. Not entering the building, not leaving it, just gone. Like they never exited at all. When I asked the manager where they went, she hesitated. Then she said something she probably shouldn't have. The woman who lived in my apartment before me had children. Something had happened in that family. Something serious. But she stopped herself before saying more, and told me to just keep my doors locked. That was it. No explanation, no details, just silence again. That same silence I had started to recognize. Because silence, I realized, isn't always empty. Sometimes it's just waiting. I left the building not long after. I told myself I was done thinking about it, done trying to connect things that might not even be connected. But the truth is, I never really stopped thinking about it. Because there are still things I can't explain. The basement that felt wrong, the notes that knew too much, the presence inside my locked house, the figures that didn't show up on cameras, and the feeling that none of it was separate, that it was all part of something I still don't understand. Even now, I try to tell myself it was coincidence, that it was random, that there's always a logical explanation somewhere. But then I remember Biscuit, the way he stood in front of that basement door, completely still, terrified of something I couldn't see. And I keep thinking about one thing I can't ignore. Dogs don't fake fear. And whatever was behind the door, I don't think it ever stayed behind it.